Welcome to Wednesday, December 18th, 2024. Your Day Weather Podcast is being brought to you by Converse County Tourism. Douglas and Glen Rock, Wyoming are bustling with action this holiday season. Plan your excursion, including fun activities, beautiful downtowns, and historic treasures. Learn more at conversecountytourism.com. Well, as we now transition into the second half of the week and into the weekend before Christmas, a couple of things are apparent across the western and northern part of the United States. Number one is going to be the wind. It roars back in many areas later today, tonight, and tomorrow. And then clipper systems. We'll talk about that here in a minute. That'll be racing across the northern U.S., then into the upper parts of the Midwest and the Great Lakes in the coming days out of Canada. So these systems running across the northern tier will make it very windy south of the path of these low pressure systems. And we do need to watch out for another high wind event in many areas later today into tonight and tomorrow. Now, high pressure, which is building overhead right now, is going to break down this weekend. And this breakdown of the high pressure system is going to allow a lot of that energy and some of that moisture we showed you screaming across the Pacific Ocean to start to come back into the western United States as early as Christmas Eve. The pattern Christmas week into the new year is going to be more active in the west, and this is going to pose some travel concerns. As we get a little bit closer, we'll be able to get into some details, but there's going to be a series of stronger fronts coming off the west coast and across the U.S. during that time frame. And you can see that the Pacific is doing the same thing again. You can see all these waves. You can see the nice curl with a low pressure system right here off the coast of British Columbia. But at the same time, a high pressure ridge is building in behind yesterday's system that came on through. So these low pressure systems are going to be coming through, going up and over the ridge. Then they're going to cut down and track just like this. Now, for those of you that maybe have spent time in the Midwest or the Great Lakes region, you may hear or you're going to be familiar likely with the term Alberta Clipper. Systems that come in out of Western Canada, slide southeast, then head into the nation's midsection. Clippers tend to produce not big storms, but little storm systems, but they can be quite impactful. They tend to move very quickly, producing a little bit of snow and a lot of cold and wind as they go on through. It's a great way to make it snow in some parts of Canada and the northern tier of the U.S., and you're going to see that. And these clippers are due to all of these little waves coming across the Pacific, up and over the ridge, and then down. So this is where we're going to be today. Here's yesterday's system, already into the Great Lakes. Here's the next clipper system, heading southeast, and you'll see here in a moment, as it heads southeast later today into tomorrow into the Dakotas, it's going to ramp up the wind. So here we are. This is today. This is by tomorrow morning. Textbook Alberta Clipper coming into the upper Midwest. A tight gradient forms right here, so here comes the wind. Winds will blow pretty hard in many areas over the next 24 to 36 hours, I'm afraid to say. Here are the wind gusts potential between now and tomorrow. So you can see it's extensive. It's very windy across Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, then of course the wind-prone areas of Montana and Wyoming get it the worst. So although the day today really is not going to start out bad at all with the wind by this afternoon and tonight in particular. So I-80, I-25, South Pass, along the foothills west of Cody and Meeteetse there, then through the mountain gaps of Montana, but even into the plains. It is going to get raw up here. We'll show you here in a minute. Very Arctic when we come and take a look at what will happen. Now, by Saturday morning, there's actually another little clipper riding behind it, coming into the Great Lakes. The high pressure ridge is still in the Rockies and the high plains. That'll keep temperatures mild and conditions dry. This is the beginning of the end of this high pressure ridge. This becomes a bit of a stronger wave and kind of pokes its way through the middle of the ridge, kind of like the first dagger, so to speak, to start to break it down. This will be a wave right here, Saturday night and Sunday, that I think is going to cause some weather for southern Montana and northern Wyoming. So travelers will need to kind of keep an eye on the I-90 corridor for a little bit of winter. Not a lot, but a little bit of winter. This is going to be a travel area of concern late Saturday night into Sunday as that wave moves through. Between now and Saturday, you can see where the path of these clippers are going to go. And this is a classic Alberta clipper track right here. And along this path, there's going to be a lot of snow. Going to be significant snow here, wind and very cold temperatures. So if you're going to be traveling into southern areas of Canada, across North Dakota, eastern South Dakota, then into Minnesota and the Great Lakes, and we'll show you that area in a moment, this is not going to be fun at all. It's going to be very wintry, windy, and very cold with snow. The Pacific Northwest Mountains will get into the mix. This is between now and Saturday, generally dry conditions elsewhere. These clippers, as they go through the Great Lakes, will cause more lake effect snows. And so as we get into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, if traveling into this part of the world, expect probably some airport delays. This isn't a massive winter storm, but it doesn't take much these days to really snarl up things. So heading into the Great Lakes in the Northeast, holiday travelers, this weekend, this will be a bit of a weather maker there. If you look at the temperatures over the next 5 days, the anomaly, just like it's been all in the month of December, this has been the dividing line to who's been the warmest and who's been the coldest. And so there's really nothing new under the sun here in terms of how the weather will go. Beyond Sunday, we don't necessarily see any severe cold because, as we mentioned yesterday, the Pacific is going to dominate. But the Pacific is going to start throwing out waves. And there's that little low we talked about as maybe being a little bit of a travel hazard for the I-90 corridor late Saturday night, Sunday into early Monday. And this will produce snow in the mountains of the central and northern Rockies. And again, this is probably going to produce another wind event, maybe not as strong as one that's coming here shortly, but it's going to be windy in many areas Sunday. So this cuts off the head of the high pressure ridge. Then we've got all of this jet stream energy about ready to come into the Pacific Northwest coast. And that lends itself to what will happen on Christmas Eve. On Christmas Eve, a stronger frontal system comes into the coast of Washington, Oregon, and will go pretty far south into central California. So it's going to be wet Christmas Eve in the Pacific Northwest along the coast, pushing into the interior Rockies. Now, the million-dollar question is Christmas Day. How much of this low is going to be able to survive its entrance into the Rockies? Well, by Christmas morning, it does sort of maintain itself as a decent-sized little system. So on Christmas Day, into the day on Thursday, do expect some form of winter weather here, and that will be maybe a concern for travelers as we get into the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday timeframe, because it does look like it's going to do something that systems haven't done lately, and that's head into the central plains of the U.S. So we're a week away. We'll see what happens, but there is something coming through on Christmas Day into the days after Christmas. And then look off to the west. There's that gradient. And this is just a factory to make waves, these strong, moist jet stream winds. You'll just get more waves coming through. And notice that the high pressure ridge is gone, it's terminated, and that's going to open the door and allow more waves coming through to move in behind this one as we get into the weekend after Christmas. Have yourself a good Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow.